looking, reaches, that ball's out, that's live! Back the other way, Sam Hubbard! The Cincinnati Kid! Hubbard's got a convoy! Chased by Andrews! At the 30, the 20, he will score!
To the end zone, down the field, and it is deflected, and gone! Touchdown! A.J. Green!
Over goes back to throw, men are coming late, looks right down the middle, there's Eddie Brown, he has it at the 35 to the 30, he may go, 10-5, touchdown!
Now the Bengals Super Bowl chances rest on his right foot. The kick is up.
Yeah.
It is good!
Corey Dillon, he's gone. The knockout punch, you're looking at it. 65 yards. And they're back to throw as the blitz is on. Goes long, intended for Collinsworth. He has it down to the 20, touchdown! And Chris Collinsworth.
Throwing the long ball. Deep down the field. Trent Johnson's got it. Touchdown, Cincinnati.
Look at Chase go! Oh my goodness, what a gear he just found! Chase for the touchdown! Wow, Chase is on the case!
It is no fluke. It is a fact. The Cincinnati Bengals are headed to Super Bowl 56. The play clock at 3. Shotgun snap. Carr throws into traffic. Intercepted. Jermaine Pratt has the football.
Yeah.
Coffin nails.
Bam, bam, bam! How about that?
No bam, bam, bams today. No how about that's today. One of the more somber ones we've had, it feels like, because I mailed it in at halftime and they got me all the way back in. Normally, I'm joined by Craig Sandlin. This time, Reed Mouse, kind enough to spend his Sunday night with us here on Chatterbox Bengals. And I'm sure there's nothing you want to do right now more than talk about the Cincinnati Bengals.
I look a little blurry, and I feel a little blurry because that's what the Bengals have done to me this year. Is they have just made me feel like just a shell of myself, and it's hilarious because they do this. They're like a bad girlfriend. They every week you're like, if this happens, like this is you set expectations, right? You're like, all right, if this happens, this is how I'm going to feel. And if this happens, this is how I'm going to feel.
Right. Then
you get to the game, and the first half happens, and you're like, all right, I'm going to throw this all out. Now there's new things. This is how I'm going to feel regardless. And it's so freaking funny that we keep doing this every single week. Golly, I should have used a different laptop. This thing sucks.
It's sad. It's a sad, sad state of affairs right now because we knew it coming into the game. We knew that this was going to be it. This was going to kind of determine the rest of the season, and what happened here was whether or not the Bengals won or lost this game. It was the playoff hopes relied on beating the Chargers and beating the Broncos for the rest of the season, and you drop the first end of that one, and your playoff chances are now below 20%. And I think the reason why it's cutting way deeper for everyone right now is because of the clawback. Like, it was happening.
Right.
Exactly what had to happen for the whole season to change happened. And I even mean the abysmal first half. Going down 21 to the number one defense in football, organizing that comeback, getting everyone bought in, the defense shutting it down in the second half, Joe Burrow being perfect in the second half. That's what changes something for the next 6 weeks. One win, one 27-24 win, you can get yourself a little bit more excited. But a comeback like that is what changes a whole season. And we had the opportunity and we let it slip through our fingers. I don't know how many more times we can have the same conversation because it's every single week.
Well, I'll tell you how many times we can have that conversation and 0 more times because the conversation's it's done. It's done.
No,
like,
right.
Here's where I'm at, and it's funny. I already did the girlfriend analogy, so I won't. I'll do it again. It'd be so much easier Like, say you're a girl and you got this boyfriend, and your boyfriend's Zach Bryan, and he's just the biggest piece of crap you've ever met in your entire life, and he makes it so difficult for you the entire time. Like, he's just every single time that you see him, he's just a jerk. He treats your family, your friends, everyone like jerks. Every time you hang out with him, you're like, I don't have a good time with this guy. It's not like that with the Bengals. What it does is you're like, oh, this guy's a jerk. And then, like, he buys you flowers, and then he takes you out, like, to a nice steakhouse. And then he, like, actually tries with your friends. You go out with your friends, and he's like, man, he's joking around with my friends. And then at the end of the night, he's a jerk again. And that's what the Bengals are. That's literally what they are, is that every single time that we are ready to cut it, right? We are ready to say, like, this is the end of the season, because this is what this team is, right? You said this, and we talk off screen. As much as I want to believe in the Cincinnati Bengals, we understand that they weren't a good football team. Right. They were good enough to fight with all the good football teams. And to be honest, if they show you anything, it's that a good quarterback and an elite quarterback and an elite wide receiver can compete with anybody, but you need the rest of the pieces to really get it done. You need the rest of the pieces to get it done, and that's where I'm at. It's a good foundation. The bones are there, but what we've seen this year is that they cannot beat good teams. The Chargers are a good team, really good team. Every team that they've lost to, sans the Patriots, they're a good football team. Yeah. Like that, they'll win games. I don't think we've lost to a team that's gonna not make the postseason. Off the top of my head,
excluding New England, you're absolutely right. Yeah, the Bengals have been in all those games. It's not like they're getting, other than the Eagles one, they haven't been getting ran out of the field, which is another reason why it's so frustrating, is because we sit here every day and we go through those holes and we say we're only competitive because of Joe and Jamar. We know that there's 18 pieces on this team that need to be fixed to be competitive. But they go out there and play the contenders close every single week. They fool me into thinking they're closer than they are every single time. And we saw it again tonight, because is this team good enough to win? Is this team better than the Chargers? Absolutely not. But what did happen tonight is they had a quarterback that was the best player on the field. Joe Burrow was absolutely incredible, especially in the second half, 28 of 49 for 356 yards today, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Chase Brown, 22 carries for 86 yards, 5 catches for 57 yards, 27 touches for the kid. He's been a phenomenal piece to this offense, really coming into his own as he continues to grow as the lead back after losing Zach Moss. Jamar Chase, first game back with T. Higgins in the lineup, 7 catches, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. T with the big-time game, 9 catches, 48 yards, 1 touchdown in his return to the lineup. He's a guy that you miss so much. And then Andre Oshavas, just 3 catches. But 2 of them came in absolutely massive moments. So this offense really did figure it out after the abysmal first half. They were rolling all day. And other than those 2 first-half red zone trips that resulted in made field goals and the 2 field goal trips that resulted in missed field goals, it was almost perfection, eliminating that 3 straight 3-and-out stretch. This offense was unbelievable today, getting down the field, and then you crumble in the red zone, which you've been great at all year. Second best red zone offense in the NFL going into this game, 0 for 2 in the first half when it comes to scoring touchdowns. And then McPherson at the end of the game missing both of those field goals. I don't know who is there to put blame on at this point, but the change in between the 2 halves gives me some semblance of hope that this coaching staff knows how to make adjustments. Because all year we've said they don't do anything at halftime. And you play one of the worst first halves we've seen all year, a blowout. We had people leaving the chat saying, I got work tomorrow, I'm going to bed. And then everyone swarms back in the third quarter because the Bengals look like a completely different team. That's not something we've seen this year. And it's too late now, sitting at 4-7. But there are building pieces in this loss for the long term.
No, you're absolutely right. Like like I said, the bones are there, Jacob.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a super chat. Neil McCoy just gave a $10 super chat. He said, when was the last game-winning drive for Burrow? Seems like it's been forever. He can't just get the extra 10 to 20 yards or make the key play. It's concerning. Here's the thing, is he had 2 different game-winning drives today.
And you want to know when the one before that was? Against the Ravens.
Last week. And then it was the Ravens the first time.
Right.
Right. It's I understand that it feels like you've got a crutch, and it's Joe. And I love Joe. I truly believe he's the best athlete that this city has seen last 2 decades. Barry Larkin's a Hall of Famer. That's the last guy I can think of. King Griffey Jr., he wasn't the same. Joey Votto's a Hall of Famer. I think Joe's better than Joey Votto. But I don't want to get in that conversation right now.
That's a good clip.
All I'm saying is that Joe Burrow is the best athlete this city has seen, and there's still a contingent of it that want to talk poorly about him. Yeah. That was one of the best games he's ever had. That was true. The pockets collapsing. I know there wasn't Khalil Mack, but this is one of the best defense. This is the best defense in the league, according to almost every single statistic that you can find. They haven't given up 20 points, and we scored 20 points in 15 minutes of game time in the second half. Like, that shows you what they were able to do. So, like, to Neil, when was the last time that Joe Burrow had a game-winning drive? He had 2 tonight. And for whatever reason, there was, I think, a hold. I don't want to do the refs thing because the refs really weren't a big part of tonight. You can do it every game. I think at the end of the first half, there was some ref calls, and then maybe that's 3 points different. Whatever. The point is that Joe put them in a position to win 2 different times, or at least take the lead 2 different times. And a portion of your team, the kicker, which we're not asking you to be an above-average kicker. We're asking you to do what the average kicker does, which is, and we'll get to McPherson sooner or later. We're asking you to make the 50-yard field goal, the 47-yard field goal, which is what everyone does. You are the worst-graded field goal kicker in the league. You used to be one of the best. Expensive. You're not that. Right. You are not that anymore. Right. And we put you in a position to do that. But I don't even know where you started that. Neil McCoy got me off a tangent with the super chat talking about how when was the last time Joe Burrow got the Bengals in a game-winning drive? He's done it 8 times this year. The Bengals just haven't won the game. So maybe that defies the definition of a game-winning drive. But to me, like, if they were a better team, that wins the game. In fact, we saw that in years past. That's what everyone said, is like, this defense and this kicker keep coming up clutch. It's actually, I'm ranting now. I'm ranting about the fact that as a Joe Burrow defender, I've had to hear about how great Evan McPherson was and how great the defense was now for 3 years. And I don't know who they're teaching a lesson to. I don't know if it's the Joe Burrow defender saying that we actually need them, or I don't know if it's the fact that these people that always try to discredit Joe Burrow, and now he's playing unbelievable, playing the best ball of his career, and they're not playing well, and they can't win. I don't know who's learning the lesson. I just know we're all losing here in Cincinnati.
It stinks, and that's really the crux of it. And I think that's why there's so much anger and just animosity going on in Bengals fandom right now. And we see it in the chat. As soon as games start to slip away, everyone starts blaming different people. And if people aren't all on the same page about who's in charge, then you start butting heads with each other. And I think it's because every Sunday we sit here and we watch their quarterback play and we say, that's the most important position on the team. That's the guy that wins and loses games for every team in the league. And we have maybe the best one in the entire league. And we're 4-7. And it doesn't make sense. We were asking the question last week, when's the last time a quarterback of Joe Burrow's caliber played all 17 games and the team missed the season or missed the playoffs? I can't think of one outside of the 2010 Drew Brees teams. There's not been a quarterback at the top of the league that would play the whole year and still miss the playoffs. It doesn't happen. And that's what we're staring at in the face right now, barring an injury later this year. But we're eliminated when he was healthy. And I think that's why you go to the fire Zach Taylor, fire Duke Tobin. We need new owners. It's just like, what do we blame? We have the sack leader. We have the best receiver in football. We have T. Higgins. Like, the most important position on defense is edge rusher. We have the best one in football, production-wise. The 2 most important positions on offense, 3 most important positions on offense, wide receiver 1, left tackle, quarterback. We have one of the best left tackles in football when he plays, the best quarterback in football this year, and the best receiver in football this year, and we're 4-7. That's why everyone blames the coach, because that's the easiest thing to blame. Everything else on the list of stuff to blame, we have great ones.
I wanted to come here knowing I was doing this show, and when the Bengals are coming back, because, I mean, with what I say, I definitely identify as a guy that like doesn't want to fire Zach Taylor.
Yeah.
But I'll like outwardly say like I don't care. I don't care if we fire Zach Taylor. That's fine, whatever. But like also when people are so ardent on firing Zach Taylor, I'll go, he's doing a fine job. I wanted to come here and say in the first half everyone wanted to fire him. I wanted to win the game so I can come back here like, hey, we got to keep him around for the next decade now because he won this game that everyone was so hell bent on firing him in the first half. But here's what I'll say: it's I don't mean to get too pointed. My grandma passed when I was in 5th grade, and I remember losing a close game in a little league baseball game. And she looked at me, and my dad. She was really making a joke at my dad. My dad was my baseball coach. We lost like 1 run. She goes, when you win a close game, it's because of the players. When you lose a close game, it's because of the coaching. And she was really making a joke about that. But that stuck with me. And I like, as much as I want to believe in Zach, as much as I want to do all these things, and like I said, if Zach's the coach next year, I'm not going to get upset. If Zach's not the coach next year, I'm not going to get upset either. I just want to like be fair when we criticize him. I think it's an easy thing to always criticize the head coach. I think that's the easiest thing to do. And like you said, look, when you got the head coach, when you got the quarterback, when you got the weapon, when you got the pass rusher, that's the easiest thing to point at.
Because even when Marvin was struggling at the end of his career, sorry.
No, here's what I'll say and I'll finish up this point is you play Jim Harbaugh, one of the best coaches on the planet. Right. You lose close. You play Andy Reid, one of the best coaches on the planet in the history of the sport. Jim Harbaugh's in the same way. You lose close. You play John Harbaugh twice, and you lose close. Like it's the same thing. That when you face these good coaches, when you face these Hall of Fame coaches, these Super Bowl winning coaches, Jim Harbaugh doesn't have a Super Bowl. I think with Justin Herbert, he'll probably win one at some point. When you face these national championship or Super Bowl winning coaches, and you're not quite sure what you have. It essentially comes down to who's got the better coach, especially when you have the better quarterback, when you have the quarterback that's playing better, when you have the wide receiver, the wide receiving group that's playing better. It comes down to the coaching, and it's simple as that. Like I said, I don't care if he's our coach next year. If he is, I believe in Zach. I still think Zach's a decent coach. Like I don't think he's tanking this team. I just think it's pretty evident that when we play good coaches, he's not up to par.
Very, very clearly. And I said that going into this game. I said if it comes down to the end where it's coaching versus coaching, Zach Taylor loses that matchup 50 times out of 50. Every single time. If it's Harbaugh versus Zach Taylor and who knows ball, Harbaugh's winning that by a mile. And that's the thing that I'm worried about with people that want Zach Taylor gone so adamantly. And again, I'm coming over strongly to your side of I just don't care anymore. Because it's where I got with David Bell at the end with the Reds. And I hate to do the Reds-Bengals comparisons on this show, but they're the two teams I root for. It's the easiest way to compare things. He's not making a positive impact, so you might as well try something else. At the worst, Zach Taylor's a nothing. Because he calls a good offense, he clearly can't help anything else. And I don't know what to do now, but everyone is sitting here talking about who's going to coach this team next year, and what are the names they're throwing out? Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowick, Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel. Would that be great? Sure. Those names would probably be better than Zach Taylor. Would those names be triple the price of Zach Taylor? You think Mike Brown's handing out $15 million for Ben Johnson? No. We're getting the passing game coordinator from San Francisco.
When we have a coach that has been to a Super Bowl on the roster. Yes. Right? Like that's what it is. Like we're not getting those things. But I do fear people when like if you're going into the we should replace the head coach thing, the one thing that you should never go into it, and I used to do this with Marvin Lewis, and I used to do this with Andy Dalton as the quarterback, is you should not go into it like, is it gonna get better? Yeah. Like what if like who are we gonna get? Like you can't go into that. If it's not working, it's not working. If a square peg's not going in a round hole, you can't be worried about picking up a triangle peg because guess what? It's still not going to go through the hole. So you've got to get the round peg, and that's where we're right. Like And Zach might be the round peg, and maybe that's where we go from here. But it's just becoming abundantly clear that when you play the best coaches in the sport, and we have three of the best coaches in the sport in our division. Kevin Stefanski, 2-time coach of the year, is the third best coach in our division. The other two are Super Bowl winners. When it's so clear that you are at a coaching disadvantage, it'd be like the coaching in the AFC North would be like being a quarterback in a division that has Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. Like that would be like be coaching in the same division as that, because that's what you're facing. You're facing three of the best coaches in the league, and if that's what people want to talk about is what we're going to do about this coaching staff, that's fine. I'm okay with whatever. I'm okay with trying different things because clearly what's going on isn't working. I will tell you that, and this is where I'm going to defend Zach Taylor, is if before this year, the one criticism that everyone had is that he can't call a good game. We're not getting the most out of our offense. And then this year, we scored 20. People will look, with 27 points. It's still a lot of points in the NFL. You also scored against 27 points against a team that hadn't given up 20 points in a game. And then also, I think they showed this stat today, and I wanted to read this stat off on the broadcast. 6 games this year, a team has scored 30 points and lost. The Bengals were half of them. We're half of them. 3 of those losses. So, I'm just doing that to illustrate that if we're going to criticize Zach Taylor, be pretty particular on what you were criticizing. Because last year was that we weren't getting the most out of the offense. This year we are clearly getting the most out of the offense, but we're not getting over the hump against good teams.
And that's what I always ask people whenever they're so adamant that Zach Taylor needs to be fired. It's okay, why? We gotta flush it out a little bit, because if you're arguing about the play calling, look at the numbers, you're probably not going to get a better play caller. If you think it's bigger than that, then that certainly maybe that's a very, very valid point as with what we've seen going on here. But Craig made the point in the chat here, which I think is kind of where we're both at in a roundabout way, and kind of where all Bengals fans are, regardless of how they talk about Zach Taylor. He says, Zach Taylor, Lou Anarumo, Frank Pollock, Duke Tobin. Someone has to be held accountable. I don't care who. I don't care how they spin it, but we can't go into 2025 with the same staff, because you can't change the quarterback. You can't change the wide receivers. And in all honesty, you can't change the 16 of the 22 starters that I want to change. So you change the stuff you can change, which I guess is that stuff, and now we're crossing our fingers that you fire the GM that's been the GM for 25 years. That's the thing that saves this franchise, is you fire the guy that's been the GM since 1999, and he's not even the GM. He's the director of player personnel. So if you fire him, no one's coming to take the job that's not even titled. The organization is just run so poorly right now, top to bottom, that it's so hard for me to just grab one thing out and be like, it's going to be fine next year. I think it's legitimately 3 things. If the owner, the GM, or the coach, all 3 don't change, or 2 of those 3 don't change, I don't know how much of a drastic change we can have unless Joe just backpacks us to a Super Bowl again.
You want to know how this team can change rapidly, and I don't know if it'll ever happen. And you and I have talked off screen about this. We laugh. It's become an oncoming joke. You get on Twitter and you see the tweets about this college, this Texas versus Michigan game, or this Texas versus whoever game, or this Ohio State Oregon game, and they count out what pro scouts are in attendance. Those games will have 29 teams, 30, 31 teams in attendance. The one team that's missing is the Cincinnati Bengals, because we ask our coaches to do the scouting. I don't know if Mike Brown understands this, but there is a direct overlap between college football
they play at the same time.
And the NFL season. Right. In fact, they play the day before we have to be at a game. So one of my friends brought this up recently. I don't know if you realize this, but most of our draft picks the last few years have come from teams, and this, admittedly, I'll admit this is where this might be wrong. They're the best teams in college football, but we draft teams that play in the college football playoff. Yeah. It's when the Bengals are free. It's when the Bengals can go to the games and scout. So they show up at the games and they go like, oh, these guys are pretty good. They have no frame of reference because they're not at the other 30 other competent schools. They're not going. What's the cornerback for the Eagles? Quentin Johnson, is that his name?
Mitchell.
What's the corner? Quinyon Mitchell. They're not going to some Maction. They're not going to Maction to figure out if we can get a first-round cornerback. We don't have scouts at the games. We're asking the dudes to do double duty. So if you want the Bengals to take a step up and to be a competent organization, we have the biggest handicap in the world that we have one of the three best quarterbacks in football right now in Joe Burrow. It's get some damn scouts.
Yeah.
Get some damn scouts out there.
No, certainly. Certainly that's the biggest thing, and where we see it come into play is the defense. And in all honesty, this J-Bar took a couple rebuilds during that game. It was built out a few times, and I changed it. This defense was originally supposed to be a positive segment, and then it kind of probably isn't going to be now, but that's where the drafting is coming into play, is on the defensive side of the football. And we haven't been able to hit on those guys, and that's exactly what you said at the start there is when you have a great quarterback, you have to be able to hit in the draft, because what goes hand in hand with having the best quarterback in football? Having the biggest contract in football. And Joe Burrow gets $55 million a year. So you can't pay everybody. You just can't do it. Do we want to pay everybody? Yeah, I'd love to. That'd be great. You just can't do it. You have to hit on draft picks, and you have to have guys that can come in and contribute right away. The Bengals' aversion to playing young guys has to go out the window. You have to take swings on upside, even if they're not necessarily showing you everything in practice, when we've seen what we've seen already this year. Cam Taylor-Britt gets benched in the first half. DJ Turner and Josh Newton get in the game. They're the two best corners we've had all year. That's the best game our corners have played all year. I don't know why they refuse to keep playing these other guys. And then I guess on the other side of the ball, we see the same thing come into play with Burton comes in and he stinks it up. So maybe there is something to do with all of that. And they're watching practice and they're in the facility. So maybe the fans on Twitter that want these guys in don't know more than the coaches. Maybe that's something that we should all take a step back, myself included, every now and then, and just be like, hey, we're not in the facility. But that's the brutal thing to me. If you're going to draft these guys, why don't you play them?
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. And you look at, and this is where I'll commend the Bengals, and I will say that they have tried to emulate what good teams do. They truly have. They got the quarterback. Yep. They knew that's number one. They got the young offensive head coach to pair with them. Great. They got him. They actually started a trend with getting Jamar Chase. They said that was the thing that is like, hey, if you get an elite target with your quarterback, that pays off. So they do that.
Yeah. And
they don't pay the running backs. They don't pay the safeties. And I know that's a big point of contention with Jesse Bates and Joe Mixon and all those things. And maybe I'll eventually admit that I'm wrong about the whole Jesse Bates thing, but I'm still not doing it today. I will say this. They have tried to emulate a good team. The problem is the second half of that organization. Like you can have the thought process of we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And then it's the execution of we will supply good talent in the draft. Mm-hmm. And they're just not doing that. They're just simply not doing that. In fact, you and I we listed every draft pick that Zach Taylor had since he took over in 2019. And I don't know what the final count was, but we were extending it so far that we were calling a Cordell Volson a hit. And maybe that's still a hit. I mean, you got a 3-year starter in the 5th round, but that's what good teams do. You saw the Chargers today.
9 of 41.
You saw the Chargers. Okay. You saw the Chargers today. They started a cornerback from the 5th round to go against not Andre Yoshivas, not Mike Gesicki, not even T. Higgins. They said, you're going to go up with what could be the best wide receiver in the league. Yeah. And that was their game plan, and they had confidence in it. That's where the Bengals need to be. They just simply it's not hard to understand how teams are successful.
Right.
You get quarterback, you get a good coach, then you draft well. Those are the 3 pieces of the puzzle.
Now they're easier said than done. How do you get to the other half? It's not rocket science how you get there. It's just how do you execute the plan?
And it seems like they have the hard part done, which is why it's so frustrating that we're sitting here. We have a quarterback with 3,000 passing yards 11 weeks into the year, and we're 4-7. The math doesn't work. If you put Joe Burrow's, Jamar Chase's stats into AI preseason and said, what's the Bengals record week 11? 11-0 is what it's spitting out. It's spitting out 11-0. Like, they haven't lost to anyone. They're the 1 seed. It's already locked up. It's unbelievable that we're sitting here basically writing the obituary of the 2024 Bengals. The season's over. It's done. We're 11 weeks into a 17-week season, and it's over. We need insane amounts of outside help to claw back into the playoff picture. It's crazy that we've gotten here, because what's the next step after you get the quarterback and that weapon, right? You get the quarterback and the one weapon, first 2 things off the board, check. Got to the Super Bowl in 21. Everyone says, next step, fix the O-line, get Joe protection.
Did that to some extent. Yeah, no. This is the best offensive line he's ever had. When Orlando
really
Brown's
bad.
When Orlando Brown's out there. Yeah, well, I'm just saying. When Mims is out there, Orlando Brown's out there.
It is much better.
Maybe I'm a beaten down Bengals fan that I still think that it's okay.
Volson and Kappa are 29th out of 32 guard pairing. And this isn't like new. Kappa was definitely had been better in the past, and it's been kind of a big fall off, and it's probably just father time reaching the end of his contract. You knew that was going to be an option with him nearing the end of that extension whenever he did sign here. But Volson, the fact that we just keep running him out there to start, we're in year, 3 or 4 now? And he's never even taken massive steps, baby steps forward. And that's the thing is I feel like they're so complacent about what they have. And I think it's reliance on Joe. I think the whole time they're like, well, Volson's fine. He's good enough. We'll try to fix something else, get it up to average. Because if everything's average and we just give Joe the ball 55 times a game, we're going to win. And we're going to win enough games that people are going to keep going to the stadiums and buying jerseys. And that's what Mike Brown cares about. And I think that's what happened this offseason is they saw Jake Browning go 9-8 last year with a bunch of injuries. And he looked pretty good. And they said, we don't need to make changes this year. We're going to get Joe back, and that's 4 wins right there. Boom, 12-5, 13-4, playoffs. There we go. Throw the parade. But you need to help your quarterback. Going and getting Sheldon Rankins and Geno Stone, and look, hand up, I was excited about him. I thought they were guys that were really going to help this team. Both of them. Yeah, I was really excited about both of them. They both stink.
Well, to be fair, one recovered a fumble, and the other one didn't have a single bad play tonight. So Sheldon Rankins and Geno Stone,
that is true.
Best games of the year for both of them.
That is true. Geno Stone was on my TV screen a lot on that last Chargers drive, though. I'll tell you that right now. A little more than I'd like a safety to be on my TV. But, man, it's just insane that the Bengals can continue to swing and miss on free agents as much as they have. I mean, Trey Hendrickson and DJ Reader defensively are really the only 2 free agents that they've signed that have been able to contribute on defense. Who am I missing?
With the current team. Awuzie, Eli Apple. Like you're talking
with this defense.
Current, yes. No, you're right. It's they honestly, regression was trending with that one.
For sure.
Because everything hit. Every single guy they hit other than Trey Waynes.
Yeah.
Other than Trey,
and they hit on the low ones where that didn't even matter.
Right. Correct. Yeah. Like you're picking up scrap heat. So there was regression trending with that. So I've got a question for you, Jacob, and it's not on the J bar or anything like that. And it's about Joe Burrow's play because it's the best that we have seen. But we've seen the same play over and over again, and something scared me in that second to last drive, I believe it was. So one of the reasons that we think this is Joe's best play of his career is because of what he's been able to do stepping up in the pocket. It's almost like it's an orchestrated mess that, all right, the pocket's going to collapse around him. He's going to step up, move out to the right on his throwing side, and he's going to throw downfield and find somebody open. The second last drive, the Chargers run a play where they send a linebacker that pretends like he's blitzing, comes back, drops back into coverage, and then comes up again like he's going to blitz, knowing that Joe's going to do exactly what I just said. He's going to wait for the pocket to collapse. He's going to step up to his right, and they knew that. every single great play that we've seen from Joe Burrow this year, not every single one, but I'd say 80% of them, 75% of them have been almost that exact same play.
Yeah.
Pocket collapses, steps up to the right, and he makes a play downfield as the play develops. Because I think guys like Jamar, not so much T, but guys like Jamar need a second for the play to develop to get open.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter so much because we're 4-7 and we'd have to win out to make the postseason. Did that final play, did that kind of give a blueprint on how to stop this magic run that is Joe? Like that, because he's done the same thing 1,000 times. And they ran this play one time and he like almost looked confused by it.
Right.
Like he didn't know what was going to happen.
That's definitely interesting. If there's a defensive coordinator that I would expect to recognize something like that and draw up a play with a fake blitz, drop and rerun the linebacker, that's Jesse Minter.
Right.
He's going to be a one-and-done DC in LA. He's going to be a head coach next year, almost surely. He's been phenomenal, and that's another thing that I wanted to get to here at some point is Zach Taylor was in a play-calling battle with a first-year coordinator and got worked up and down the field. He was fooled all day long by the back end. Joe had to save him off schedule a lot of the time. There were some good play designs. The 4th and 2 deep shot to T. Higgins was phenomenal. One of the better play calls I think Zach's had maybe all year. And that's after the chat's begging him to go under center the whole time. I got a little thrill out of that one. But yeah, it's just I don't understand how it's the same system every single time. And if you can get a beat on Joe Burrow, then I don't know what's going to happen to this Bengals team. Because every single big play that happens is that off schedule. The O-line is collapsing, and he's running. And he's been able to not get sacked. It's unbelievable how much he's staying up. I mean, the sack numbers aren't phenomenal, but with what they are, with how much he's been pressured, it's otherworldly right now what he's doing. And he's running to throw, which is just big play after big play. Craig said it last week. He's the best scrambling thrower in the league. I forget what the wording was, but I think that was it. Like running to pass. He does it better than almost anyone in the entire league. He's absolutely incredible at it. And he did it again tonight. My bigger worry than finding the book on Joe Burrow, because until I see a couple teams do it, I don't think there's a book out there. I think he'll just figure it out and find new ways to win. My worry is that he keeps making these big-time plays, and it's a 45-yard touchdown to Jamar Chase, and he's writhing in pain on the midfield logo because he had a 400-pounder go through his rib cage. Like, that stuff can't keep happening. It happened 5 times tonight after he was pressured 40 times against Baltimore. You're going to kill him. And he's not even getting sacked. He's opening himself up by making these big plays, which is keeping the Bengals in these games. He's feeling the pressure, and I think we're starting to see it.
My biggest fear in this world is that this guy right here, number 9.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're wearing it. Number 9 doesn't want to play here anymore. And it's getting closer to the point that I can't blame him. If he doesn't want to be here anymore, I can't blame him because
don't do that.
Because of exactly what he said. No.
Don't do
it's
that.
because of he's getting killed.
He's getting killed.
The boy is getting they're murdering my boy. And if we lose again, shut it down. Shut it down. Like what do we have if we lose another game? If we lose to the Steelers 2 weeks from now, we have a bye, then we go to the Steelers at home. If we lose that game, shut it down. We don't need to be running the guy out here. I don't need to see any pregame tape of him doing this with his wrist because I know we all make fun of this as Bengals fans. He does it a lot, and I know he's playing the best ball of his career. He does it a lot. It's clearly like affected him at some point, and he's playing the best ball of his career, so I'm not worried about it. But don't be surprised in 2 years if all of a sudden his wrist is really tight. If we lose again, shut it down. Because exactly what you said. I can't see them
or just Joe. I don't think Jamar's playing if we lose a couple more games. Hamstring in practice.
Yeah. T can play because he's on a contract year. If he wants to play, let T play.
Just ask him.
Orlando
hey,
Brown. Three guys. Joe, Jamar, and Orlando Brown. If they lose again, shut them down, sit them on the sideline, and we'll figure out what else we got. And we'll try again next year because we play in a tough division. It's so funny that we talked about how easy the schedule is, and we have 4 easy wins. But at the same point, we've also got 6 losses against playoff teams
Really good
out of
teams.
7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's just be careful about understanding what the NFL season is, because the NFL season always changes. But I don't know. I don't know. You just can't continue to see this. You did take a shot at Zach, and I will continue to defend Zach play calling wise, because this is the best that the offense has looked.
That's fair.
Everyone talked about the 4th and 2, 3rd and 2 deep shots against the Ravens last week. What happened the next time we got the ball? We did a deep shot, scored a touchdown immediately. We get 4th and 2, we took a deep shot, scored immediately. I loved the fourth down in the first half when we go to T. Higgins on the slant route. It was a beautifully designed play. That was an easy. A lot of these plays aren't easy. It was easy to pick up that first down. It looked like what other offenses looked against us.
Yeah.
So simple as that.
No, you're right. The last thing on this, goes back to the draft in a way, and just before we move on to McPherson, because I know that's what kind of everyone wants to talk about, is where we're at with him right now. The only success Zach Taylor and Duke Tobin in this front office has ever had is in a top 10. It's the only success they've ever had. And those top 10 picks going down, so top 10 in the second round, top 10 in the third round, they've been able to really thrive in that spot. There's a couple reasons why that is. Number one, you're picking better players, obviously. Joe Burrow falls into your lap, Jamar Chase falls into your lap. The other reason why I think that happens, do you know where the top 5 picks go before the draft? They coach the Senior Bowl. In 2020, we were coaching the Senior Bowl. We were actually watching the players play. We were scouting. Right. And you end up with a guy out of Wyoming who's a pretty good middle linebacker. It's amazing how that works. And if you do go with the shutdown route, which is what you're throwing out there, if the Bengals lose a game or 2 more, it's not just protecting Joe Burrow. It's setting yourself up to have a much better draft position, which maybe it's disgusting to be talking about in week 11 to tank, but man, Travis Hunter and Stripes,
No.
Will Johnson, Brandon Graham.
Here's the thing: it's not a good draft class. I will say that. It's not Jamar Chase's draft class or Joe Burrow's draft class, which are both absolutely stacked from top to bottom. It's a unique thing, and I don't want to tank. I'm just saying, if they lose next week, what do you got to play for?
Yeah.
What do you got to play for?
I can't watch Joe Burrow get put under the turf for the 4-9 Bengals.
You'd be 4-8. You would have 1-4 in the division.
Yep.
You'd have no tiebreaker over any wild card team, sans the Broncos if you beat them, and you'd have to beat them to get there. Which that would be who you'd be fighting for that 7th spot. But it's it would just be over at that point. So what's the point? What's the point there? What's the point? But that's a story for another day, because as you know, we will wake up 3 days from now and we will be sold that they're going to win again, and you'll talk yourself into some playoff
I'll
system.
find a machine.
Maybe 9-8 gets us in, and then you got one more loss to work with, and then you figure yourself out to do that. But it's just at the end of the day, and we've got the rest of the J part to go through. At the end of the day, it comes down to these 2 things. Good teams win close games.
Yep.
We're not winning close games. We're just not. We were and regression was imminent based on the way that we won all those games back in 2021, 2022, went on the 10-game win streak. We covered every game. You mean Elliot always make fun of this.
Yeah.
We covered every game, but no game it didn't look like the Lions beating up the Jacksonville Jaguars.
No, you're right.
No game ever looked like that. It was always kind of ugly, and we just kind of scrapped it out. The playoff run. Everyone used to make fun of how Joe never got it done. It's he won the game. Now he's getting it done, and he's not winning the game. So it's just regression was imminent. This team doesn't have enough complete players. It doesn't have enough complete roster. You look at a team, I don't know if you watched the Eagles today. I don't know if you watched, even the Bills, who have a shell of a roster similar to how we have. But where it matters, it still matters, right? We're the piece. We have the 3 big pieces that you want. 4 big pieces.
Yeah.
We have a good left tackle. We have a good quarterback. We have a good wide receiver. We have a good pass rush. The rest isn't there. The Bills have more there. The Chiefs have more there. Like, it's just that the roster's not there. It's as simple as that.
That's the thing. There's so many holes. One of the holes that I don't think anyone expected to be talking about at this point in the season is probably my biggest long-term concern with the Bengals, because I think a lot of my concerns on the defensive side of the football, I'm like, okay, those guys stink. We're getting new players if we're going to be good at that position. We're locked into Evan McPherson as the kicker of this team for at least a couple years. The money's way too big. You can't cut him. You just can't do it and have that dead cap. You're locked in. He has to figure it out. On that last drive before the second miss, I asked the chat here what yard line they were confident in kicking from. Unanimous under 40 yards. Can't kick it from beyond 40 yards. You can't do it. He won't make it. And then what do we see? They kick it from 51. He shakes it. I don't know what happened to him. Because against the Ravens, bad hold. We kind of just threw it out the window. We said, and then when you watched it slower, you said, well, it was definitely late, but the ball was down. And it was a terrible kick. We still gave him the pass. Now as we keep going, tonight they were clean holds. Clean holds. And he shanks them both. Both maybe to win, maybe not to win, but certainly to give you a lead in the waning seconds. I don't know where you're at on McPherson right now, but I have zero confidence whenever he takes the field.
I think you're talking about E-Dog, who is my golfing buddy.
I forgot he's your buddy.
Yeah. E-Dog, we played golf one time. Yeah, we played golf one time, and to be honest, I froze his confidence, and that's clear as day when I parred holes number 1, number 2, and number 3, and ended up losing by 20 strokes to him.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, he shot a 70. I lost by 30 strokes. I shot a 101. He shot a 70.
I wish he'd have that accuracy with the uprights.
Yeah. So here's the thing: is I just looked it up. Evan McPherson has hit one 40-yard field goal since we played Carolina, which was our first win of the season. 140 or 40-plus yard field goal since then. In a growing age where kickers, and I've had this take, the two most amazing athletic feats of my lifetime are how hard pitchers throw. I remember being a kid, my dad told me, you throw 90 miles an hour, you'll get drafted someday. It's not the case anymore. I remember watching Bengals games as a kid and seeing kickers go for 43-yard field goals. That was a long shot. 43 is a gimme. And it was guys like Evan McPherson, Justin Tucker, Harrison Butker. It was guys like that kind of ushered in this new age of this is what you should expect from your kicker.
Yeah.
Well, here we are, and you get the extension. I don't think anyone was questioning that extension.
No, we were
I
thrilled.
don't think anyone, they just like, right, it's just like, you signed the kicker, right? He's great. He's not going to cost you too much money.
Right.
Like it's –
And then you know when you walk your kicker out there for that length of that contract that he's going to make the gibbies. That's what you knew.
Right, and it's just not there. It's just not there. And golly, I'm going back to that super chat that we had. When's Joe Burrow going to have a game-winning drive? He had 2 of them today. 2 of them in the fourth quarter with minus 5 minutes to go. 2 game-winning drives, kicked you a field goal, got you in point position, and it's so frustrating. And it is just it is a problem that you don't realize you have it till you have it, right? It's like when you're not a good team, you don't really care about your kicker.
Right.
When you're not a good team, you don't care about your kicker.
Not even just a good team. When you're not a Super Bowl contender, you don't care about your kicker.
Right. And then you become a contender and you're like, oh, the kicker, he makes the biggest plays of the game sometimes. Your quarterback and your kicker, they're gonna put up the points on the scoreboard. And here we are on now November 18th. It's 12:42 Eastern Standard Time, daylight savings time, and the sun will rise. The sun will rise in about 7 hours, and it'll be up for about 45 minutes.
That's right.
And that's truly just the omen that is the Cincinnati Bengals season. I don't know. Evan McPherson, there's nothing you can do, and you illustrated that.
Literally
there's
nothing.
Nothing. It's just keep running him out there. It's time to kick the field goal, Evan. Here you go. We'll try to snap it, and we'll hold it well for you. It's up to you, and we're going to keep running you out there. Please, 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 sir, make the field goals. I've had this long-standing take, and I'll use it right now. I'll use this time right now as 244 people are in this chat. Kicking should be outlawed from football because it's the stupidest thing in the world that we have these Herculean men, these just giant, beautiful human beings that are 300 pounds that run 4.640s. They are amazing. Then we have this 140-pound guy that decides the game. Like, it's just the funniest thing in the world. We're like, hey, you guys are going to go to war. You guys are going to go. It would be like in baseball. We keep doing the baseball thing. It'd be like in baseball, you get to extra innings, and you're like, hey, let's play a chess match. Chess match to see who wins. Let's go ahead and figure it out. Let's do it right there. You're playing a basketball game, and then in the final seconds, all right, everyone get on the high dive, 15 meters. Let's see how many spins, who can do a gainer off the high dive. It's dumb, but this isn't that time for that take.
That's a good take. Bengals would have thrived off of that one, I think, over the last couple of weeks. And that's I think that's the point that's so frustrating with it is we can all be upset about McPherson missing kicks. He's our kicker for the next however many years. So we're gonna have to figure it out. We're gonna have to figure it out. We kind of covered it in the middle. We jumped around a little bit, but that's what you get after 12A when I had my brain turned to mush for 4 hours watching the Bengals choke that away. But we covered this in the middle, but this is what everyone's asking in the chat. Been trying to answer it a little bit, but what does it mean now? And I think you've heard us say it plenty of times. It's over. Like how over? All the way over?
Sans.
I don't want to say it's over.
So, well, I mean, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to watch them in 2 weeks and root for them. So, like, how over is it? It's over. Until it's not.
I'm not saying I'm going to stop watching them. It'll be a cold day in hell before I stop watching the Bengals. I've watched a lot less teams than this one.
I haven't missed a Bengals game in 4 years for anything other than work. Here's the thing. It will take getting back to 500 before it might not even be then. If we get to 6 and 7, then we're kind of talking ourselves into it. Then we're talking ourselves back in. But it's over. Yeah, what was the stat if we won? And it was funny because they showed this during the game. They said if we won in the fourth quarter, if you win, the odds of making the postseason go up to 38%. If you lose, they go down to 10. Pre-game, it was 58 to 10. And the reason that changed is because the Colts won, and the Broncos won, and the Dolphins won, and and all the teams that weren't supposed to win won. So it's just like it keeps stacking up against. So sans a 7-game, 6 games left. 6 games. Winning the last 6 games, it's over. It's done. It's just, what's the point? You know what? Let's make a proclamation. If they win the last 6 games, what will you do, Jacob? What will you do? If they win the last 6 games, make the postseason.
I'll do anything. I'll do whatever. What do you want? What do you want me to do? I'll do it. Oh, I'll do it all. If you're telling me the Bengals could win 6 games the rest of the season to make the playoffs, I am in. What are the odds?
Hey,
you want me to match your hair? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm just, I don't even know. Like,
I would do anything for 6 in a row.
As the host of Chatterbox Bengals, you got to do something. I think you got to go back to shave the head, shave the beard. If they win the last 6 games, make the postseason. Done. Deal.
You know what? Eyebrows too. It's all gone.
See that chat?
It's all gone.
Eyebrow. All the hair above
my neck's gone if we win 6 in a row. Book it.
Ear hair, nose hair too. I need that trim too.
Okay. Now it's just for you.
Eyelashes. Is that hair? Are eyelashes
now you're getting too close to the eyes. That might cause some problems. I don't know about that one. But just before
But fair.
I will. All hair gone. All hair above the neck gone if the Bengals win 6 in a row. So extra motivation for all you guys as well because I'll look like a fool for the playoff streams. That'll be fun. Just before we get out of here, taking a peek at something that's going to be mine and all Bengals fans' best friend for the next 7 weeks, 6 games and a bye. Tankathon. The old Bengals. Bengals fans know Tankathon real well. Where do we slide right now? 11th. Picking 11 after today's results. And that has Ashton Jeanty coming to Cincinnati, Ohio. Boy, oh boy, would Reader love this season to result in the top 10 pick and a running back. That would be so funny.
How high is the High Main Bridge in Hamilton, Ohio? Because if we finish top 10 and we take Jeanty,
Chase Brown rocks.
oh my God, he's good.
Yeah.
He's good. Sans that fumble against the
right.
Ravens.
I just saw that was the projected pick, and it's, man, there's so many holes on this team. You gotta really go into this draft thinking long term and attack the things that you have to fix now. We don't have luxury picks anymore. You got to fix the problems.
If we get a top 10 pick, can we call up the Eagles and ask for their entire roster for the top 10 pick? Can they do that?
Just
like if we take a give us
all
everyone.
your good players.
Give us everyone. Correct. Well, you can keep the bad. You can keep the bad ones. We'll take the good ones, and
that's
we'll let you decide who's who.
It wasn't the Eagles. You got to go towards the bottom of the league, but that's what the Bears did. They said, "Hey, Carolina, give us your whole roster, and we'll give you number 1."
That's what the Browns did. The Browns were like, "Hey, you like that guy that has inconspicuous personal life? We'll give you our entire future for him." And it worked out well for him.
Oh, what a time to be alive. And we're in the same boat. Both going to be watching the playoffs at home. So that's fun for everybody. For this edition of Chatterbox Bengals, that's going to do it for Jacob and Reed Mouse. What a thrill that game was. More fun than I could have hoped for in the middle of it. But, man, what a way to get your heart ripped out for the 2024 season. We get to watch Joe Burrow at least one more time, according to Reed. So I'm going to soak it in 2 weeks against the Steelers. I'm going to be excited. And maybe it's the last time I'll get to see him this year. But as long as he's out there, I'm going to enjoy watching the Bengals because you don't know how long he's going to be here for. 4-7. Man, that stinks. 4-7. Season's over. Uphill climb to the playoffs. Unless you win 7 in a row, maybe it happens. Anything else you want to shoehorn in here before we get out?
No, 6 in a row would be great.
6 in a row
would be. That's what I'm banking on. You know what? I think you're going to the game next Sunday, right?
I am. That's the plan.
I'm undefeated. I'm undefeated on the live stream. So if anyone's watching this, I'll get us back to 5 wins. What was our last win against the Raiders? We'll finally beat a good team. We haven't done that yet this year.
That'd be nice.
And that's what's funny about us talking about winning these last 6 games is we play some good teams.
Yeah, sure do.
Not a whole lot. When we played 2 bad teams, the other 4 are good teams. So we'll have fun.
Bye week. Steelers, Cowboys, Titans, Browns, Broncos, Steelers.
Ooh, we got 3 bad games.
Cowboys, Titans, Browns.
That gets us to 7 wins. Oh, I'm back in. We got to go 2-3. We got to go 2-3 in the good games. I'm back in.
And that's why you tune into Chatterbox Bengals, because after all that crying for an hour, we end the show back in. That's how it's done. And we'll catch you guys Tuesday. Thanks, everyone, for watching tonight. It'll always be Who Dat.